Stone Temple Pilots' debut album Core, released on Atlantic Records, was recorded between December of 1991 and January of 92 at Rumbo Recorders Studios in LA. The album will go on to be released in September of 92, where it peaked at number 3 on the Billboard 200. Famed producer Brendan O'Brien, who has worked on many huge records over the years and worked on the first 5 STP records, was the producer on Core.
And how did Brendan O'Brien help you in that regard in the studio, your producer?
Brendan's just basically into, making good records. He doesn't have a certain kind of sound that's his production style that he tries to rub off on a band that he's working with. I mean, there's such a, if you go from, he's produced an album for Dan Barrett, who used to be for the Georgia Satellites, to us, to working with the Chili Peppers, Black Crowes, so there's real vast sort of thing.
With the release of their debut album, the Stone Temple Pilots were being lumped into the grunge genre and the whole Seattle sound and movement that was going on at the time. But as bass player Robert DeLeo explains here, that was something that STP wasn't necessarily all that comfortable with.
I mean, if I could kind of be devil's advocate, Robert, here, some journalists have criticized Stone Temple Pilots as kind of jumping on the grunge bandwagon with bands like Pearl Jam. I'd like to give you the chance to answer that kind of accusation.
First off, I think the media were the people who jumped on the bandwagon of trying to categorize bands into some neat little niche that they could call, and it happened to be called the Seattle Sound, which I don't think the bands from Seattle even like that little name either. So I think it was, whether it was the record industry or the media themselves, of trying to make a little category that they could sell for money's sake. That's not what we're about. By no means did we jump on any bandwagon to try to create or cash in or whatever. We're actually just basically making music.
Core is 12 tracks of hard and heavy alternative rock. It features the hits Sex Type Thing, Creep, and Plush, but really hits you hard with tracks like the album opener, Dead and Bloated, and Sin. And with songs like Wicked Garden, Piece of Pie, and Cracker Man, it is no surprise that Core went on to sell over 8 million copies in the United States, making it STP's most successful commercial release. 3 singles were released from Core: Sex Type Thing, Plush, and Creep, with Plush winning the 1993 MTV Video Music Award for Best New Artist in a Video, and the 1994 Grammy Award for Best Hard Rock Performance.
We talk a little bit more about Core. There are many different styles and moods on the album, which I felt was quite unusual for a debut effort. I was wondering, did that just happen coincidentally, or was it more of making a statement against being categorized?
I think it was just a reflection of what we were feeling at the time of writing the songs. I mean, a lot of emotions came out, and as a human being, you experience different emotions. You get sad, you get happy, you get frustrated, you get angry, and it just reflects in music. I think that's what it should be. It's an expression. So you have different moods, and it goes into your music.
Besides, everyone in the band has such a wide variety of influences, each member. And so all those different influences that, say, Robert or I or Dean or Eric grew up with, all those things kind of manifest themselves into, what it is that we collectively, put together in a song.
Core really goes for an intense and emotional sound, with vocalist Scott Weiland stating that the main theme of the album was that humanity is confused, and also deals with social injustice. Here, Weiland delves specifically more deeply into some of the album's tracks. The song Naked Sunday was about organized religion and about people who tell others what to do and what to believe. Wicked Garden dealt with the loss of innocence and purity, while the song Sin addressed violent and ugly relationships. And the song Sex Type Thing, which was often misunderstood or misinterpreted by audiences. Weiland said of the song that it dealt with the abuse of power, macho behavior, and humanity's attitude toward women, treating them as sex objects.
For Sex Type Thing, which we've been seeing a lot on Headbangers Ball, and it's, I know, all over all the rock stations. Now, it deals with a very serious subject. I mean, this isn't, a lot of times a singer will talk about their personal experiences and say, I'm this and that, and you're speaking as like another person, right?
Yeah, the lyrics to the song were actually written about rape and the sexual persecution of women, which is something that we feel very important about. But rather than just come out and make some kind of typical political statement about this is what I believe or that's what I believe, I just put myself into the mindset of the total macho American male attitude about women and their sexuality, which I think is something that is important to be said because it doesn't often come from the point of view of a man. It's not usually, that subject isn't usually talked about.
So you're speaking as a person that is unlike yourself. You're not, when you're singing that song, you're not speaking of your own personal experiences, you're speaking about another character.
Yeah, exactly, and hopefully, the idea comes across and it's not misconstrued, because the last thing any of us would want is for the point to be taken literally from.
Yeah, because I mean, I was wondering if you were worried about people that go to see Stone Temple Pilots or listen to the music that think like, oh God, is this where this guy's coming from? But that's not your personal
No, and I
views at
think
all.
if people listen to the rest of the stuff that's on the record and read the rest of the lyrics and everything, that they would they'd come away knowing basically, politically where we stand with certain kinds of issues like that.
Still share to the shadow, still share to the shadow that followed you. Still share to the shadow, still share to the shadow that followed.
The album cover is set to a red background and represents Eve stealing the apple from the Tree of Eden, with STP coming up with the album name Core, referring to the apple of the biblical story of Adam and Eve. The actual first recorded track for the album was track number 10, Wet My Bed, where Scott Weiland gives his monologue about where did Mary go? This emerged from an improv session between Scott Weiland and Robert DeLeo, who were alone in the studio. And if you listen right at the end of the track, you can hear producer Brendan O'Brien as he walks into the room saying, "All right, now what?" That's actually producer Brendan O'Brien saying that right before Cracker Man kicks in.
No, I just wondered because the vocals on your album are very, very dynamic. There's a lot of different textures, a lot of different moods, and it's one of the things that kind of, for me, sets you apart. And I wondered, where did you get the experience for that from? Has it just come naturally, or have you had training? Or
I've never really had any real training. I mean, I've probably just been trial and error, basically, playing in garage bands since I was 16. So I mean, I guess whatever works and whatever doesn't work, you just kind of find out for yourself.
In September of 2017, Core's 25th anniversary edition was released. The reissue included a 25th anniversary Super Deluxe Edition box set, an exclusive Core 25th anniversary t-shirt and Core 25th anniversary lithograph. The Super Deluxe Edition's 4 CDs presented a remastered version of the album, previously unreleased demos and B-sides, along with live performances.
What did you love most about working with Scott on Core, if there was one thing?
I'll start with this one. So when we did the song Dead and Bloated, we knew that was a pretty powerful song. So I'm like, recording, emphasizing the drums first on the track for the foundation. I'm like, Scott, you got to sing about 6 feet in front of me. And just the way that he was holding the mic and just staring at me. And we're like, it's basically like when you watch football players when they get ready for a match, how they're just banging helmets and they're just, cheering each other on. That was the kind of look we're giving each other. And when I listen to that track, that's what I think about, was just staring at him, just going, yes, this song is hitting hard. And yeah, it's still there. You put it on, and it just floors me on that kind of energy that we try to purvey on the recording.
So Core, an absolutely amazing album from the Stone Temple Pilots. What a debut, just straight out of the blocks with an awesome album release. All 6 of the main Stone Temple Pilots album that they released with Scott Weiland, their main albums, they're all slightly different. They all kind of go off on their own tangent, and Core was no different, of course. Definitely the hardest and heaviest of their album releases. Right from the first track with Dead and Bloated, with Scott Weiland doing that megaphone effect with I Am Smelling Like a Rose, everybody knows it. Just so very cool, and when the music hits in, that track is just such a killer track. Weiland's vocals on Core, they're very heavy, like heavy sounding and deep. Scott just sings so amazingly on this album, as he does on all of the STP records. A very good vocalist. No exception here. And looking at some of my personal favorite tracks from the album, they aren't necessarily the singles or the big hits or whatever. They are songs like Dead and Bloated, Sin, Naked Sunday, Piece of Pie, Cracker Man, and the last track, Where the River Goes. That thing goes on for like over 8 minutes, just awesome. It's pounding and it's heavy, with Weiland singing, I want to be as big as a mountain, I want to fly as high as the sun. Those tracks really are some of my personal favorites anyway from this album. But I mean, Wicked Garden, Creep, and Plush, of course, very awesome songs. Track number 4, that instrumental, No Memory, it's only like 1.5 minutes long, but very, very good. Comes in after the hard and heavy Wicked Garden, and then Sin just rolls perfectly on from that. And you have the second interlude type deal on the album with track number 10, Wet My Bed, which is essentially Scott Weiland doing a monologue. And that is a very spinny, trippy type of deal, listening to that track. And then you get Cracker Man right at the end of that, just comes in so perfectly, hits in with the drums, and you're off. So Core, a very good quality album. As I say, hard and heavy. It really is hardcore, no pun intended there. As stated before, Weiland's vocals, amazing here. Just listened to it the other day, actually, and this album still sounds very awesome to this day. It's Core.
Just saying,
It's a media invention. I mean, and it's also the stuff that you pick from between your toes after a long day at work.